Hello everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. We are finally back, and today we are going to be going for gold in all of the super license tests. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get gold in all of them because some of them are insanely difficult, but I will do my best. The first one is at high speed ring, and you can see that attempt went horribly wrong. And I won't be showing all of the progression from getting bronze to eventually up to gold, because these are entire laps. They are quite long attempts in general, so I'll just be showing the best runs that I got for each of the individual tests. For this one at high speed ring, the only really tricky corner was this one here, this braking zone that we just finished there. That one caught me out quite a few times. The car gets very unstable there and likes to spin out when you hit the brakes, but once you get through there, just keep it nice and smooth, and make sure you pick your lines and get the momentum right through this middle chicane part of the circuit. And once you get through there, there's not too much of that can go wrong. You just need to nail the final corner. You can see we're going for a wider line on the way in, and now just navigating our way through this corner. We've got the demo lap up ahead of us, and you can see they take a very wide line. They don't go anywhere near any kind of apex there, so we kind of followed them, and that did give us the gold time of 1 minute 11.985, so only just gold, but gold nonetheless. So we now move on to S2 at Monza, driving the Ferrari F50. This one, I imagine, shouldn't be too difficult because Monza only has around 11 corners or so, so I think this one shouldn't be too hard. And I will say that if you look in the bottom left, just under the fuel gauge, near the tyres there as well, you can see how far we have driven. So far we've gone just over 80 kilometers in trying to get gold on this one. High speed ring took us 100 or so, or maybe a bit more kilometers. And you'll see that number go up and up as the license tests get more difficult, and you'll see what I mean. But anyway, we continue to push on through the lap then into the Della Roggia chicane, going quite late on the brakes there, but surviving. And that's, for me, mostly what it's about, is just surviving the lap, making no mistakes. And hopefully by the end it will be a time good enough for gold. Missing the apex there of the first Lesmo, so let's hope we can get the second one a little bit better, because it does lead on to the back straight. We get a bit closer to the apex there, and we get an okay run onto the back straight. So we are losing touch with the demonstration lap slightly, which is a tad concerning, but we'll see how it goes as we head towards the Ascari chicane into the braking zone there. And it's a much longer braking zone in a Ferrari F50 compared to a Ferrari Formula 1 car, I can tell you that. But anyway, as we now head out of the Ascari chicane, actually not as tricky to navigate in Gran Turismo as it is in the Formula 1 games, where I always have trouble with that section. But now towards Parabolica for the end of the lap, the final corner. We just need to get through here, and looks like we've almost gained a bit on the demo lap, or at least it feels like we're a little closer. But either way, we're not too far behind in overall terms, so hopefully this lap will be good enough for the gold as we come towards the line, and we do set a gold time at 2 minute 1.678. So actually we smashed the gold time by a long way there. So on to Super License test number 3 then. We have a Nissan Silvia Speca Aero S15 touring car, and we are at the Tsukuba circuit, and you can tell by the mileage in the bottom left we have not driven far at all, just under 40 kilometers so far. So this one was the easiest one yet, and yes, Tsukuba circuit I know well, and a car that handles quite nicely, so it was a relatively easy combination. Not too much I can really say about this one. I don't think there were any corners that were of a particularly difficult challenge. Probably the final corner is always a little bit deceptive, because it's well, there's not a lot of room for error, and it's quite a long and sort of almost blind high-speed corner in a way. But anyway, we head towards it now, so we'll see how we handle it. The braking zone is probably the trickiest part of it, and to get the momentum right. But anyway, we do get through there okay, and we'll cross the line for gold with a 59.792. And that also gave us the achievement for completing a lap of Tsukuba in under a minute as well. I believe that was an achievement anyway. So on to the next one. We have the Toyota Supra GT500 from 1997, the good old Castrol liveried one. And we are at Tokyo Expressway, and this is one I would have to describe as quite difficult. You can see we've driven almost 200 kilometers to this point, and it was always the same few corners that would be tripping me up and costing me time here. And one of them was turn 1, and we got through there okay on that occasion, but what I would often do is go for the apex way too early, because it looks, you just see that apex and go for it, but you really have to consciously make sure you take a late apex through as many corners around this circuit as possible. And that's just something I wasn't doing for a long time, and it was costing me a lot. So yeah, until I put the demonstration lap up in front of me, I didn't really realize what I was doing wrong. So yeah, that was a bit of a frustrating one. But anyway, we just need to basically survive the lap, and that's another part of the challenge here at Tokyo Expressway, because there is no margin for error. You've got walls on both sides all the way around. You need to make sure you are as pinpoint accurate as possible, and that has never been a particular strength of mine. Into the heavy braking zone though at the end of the very windy back straight, and going for a little bit of an earlier apex than the demo lap, but ultimately you line through there, and indeed that kind of box-shaped corner at the other end of the big long back straight is actually not that important. I've taken many different lines through there, and they all end up in about the same amount of time, so yeah, it's not the crucial part of the lap. This is though, these corners you have to get right, or at least you have to get them good enough, which thankfully we did on this occasion, but those that tripped me up on many occasions as well. But anyway, we survived them this time, and now we come towards the line and finally get the gold with 1:59.941, and that was a relief, because this one took me way too long, but the job's done. We can move on to the next one. So up next we have another rally one with S5. We have a GR Yaris to take around the Sardinia Windmills circuit. So thank goodness it's not Fisherman's Ranch, that's all I could say. As I have said many times, rallying, not my thing, but thankfully this one didn't actually take too long. I think their times for the rally stages are quite generous, because my attempt at this was far from perfect. But anyway, as I kind of just spoiled there, we did eventually manage to get the gold in around about the same time in terms of kilometers driven as the one at Monza. So yeah, not too difficult, because I did say that one was relatively easy, but this one felt much harder despite taking about the same amount of time. Nonetheless, we are making our way through the lap. This is the section of the circuit I know oh so well from was it International B5, where we had the Lancer to take through this section, so we should have no issues through here. I know exactly what to do in this section as we chuck it in and make sure we cut these corners as much as possible. I almost turned in way too early there and hit the inside wall, so that didn't quite work out for us there. But anyway, powering now up the hill out the other side, and there's I think about 1 or 2 corners are left to go. So just a beeline for the finish line, straight line there, as we get a little bit up and sideways there in the air, but we do get the gold with a bit of an out of control finish off the bump on the inside. But it's gold, and we're done finally with that one. We move on to a Trial Mountain in the Ford Shelby GT350R, and this car has the turning circle of the Titanic, so that actually makes it quite easy, because you have plenty of time to react if you're going a little bit too quick or too slow into the corner. So this was probably the easiest license test so far. So anyway, we head into the tunnel, and this was probably one of the corners I always underdrove. Always could have carried a bit more speed through there. This right-hander, make sure you don't hit the inside, but get as close to it as you can. That is a critical corner to maximize, just given the proximity of the edges of the circuit there. But anyway, never really know what to do with this corner, if you're supposed to run out wide to the left or keep it to the right to open up this left-hander. Could definitely drive this corner a little bit faster as well, because you can just cut straight across the inside and gain a lot of time that way. And yeah, we didn't quite manage to maximize that this time. I'll also mention, while we're on the straight, I have been a bit sick recently, so my voice isn't quite at 100%, you may have noticed, but I'm doing the best I can, and I do want to get back to making videos because it's been a while since I've actually posted one. Anyway, same rule applies to that corner at the end of the straight. As I mentioned to the start, you can carry quite a lot of speed through there, and cutting across the inside is absolutely fine. And now we're coming towards the end of the lap, and there's not too much else left to do. The trickiest corners on the circuit, I would actually say, are the last two, and I'm probably mostly saying that because it's been reprofiled and I don't quite know how to take these corners yet. So yeah, this is quite a significant braking zone here into, well, basically a hairpin, and we missed the apex slightly there. Get it back to the left a little bit to open up this last right-hander, but not too much. We're not trying anything fancy through there. Our lap was already very good to that point, so we don't need to do anything crazy to try and gain any last couple of hundredths of a second. We come across the line to 2 minute 14.45, and we get the gold rather easily on that one. So we move on to test number 7 then. We have the Super Formula car, an absolutely crazy machine, and we have to take it around Laguna Seca, and this one, as you can see by the mileage, was hard with a capital H. Honestly, it was insanely difficult. I'm not particularly great at driving these high downforce cars, and yeah, this one was very difficult to put a lap together. Do not touch the inside curves, they will send you to the moon. That is the best advice I can give for this one. Okay, that cricket clearly thinks I'm boring, but anyway. Yeah, we got away with it there on that left-hander just about, but they can literally launch you straight across the road and into the gravel trap. Forget taking a decent line through the corkscrew, this car's way too fast for that. We actually cut it quite significantly and got away with it. Same with that left-hander, and it's all these little bits and pieces we have to do to try and gain time. But anyway, the lap's over just as quickly as it starts with this car. It is so fast, it's unbelievable. It was actually quite fun to drive by the end, but it was a very difficult lap to put together. But eventually we got there with a 1 minute 7.129, and that was gold, actually by a chunk. So in the end, it wasn't that close of a thing. But anyway, gold's done, let's move on. So on to license test number 8, we have the Pagani Zonda at the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. So this one was the easiest by far, honestly. Like, when I first run through all the license tests a few months ago just to get bronzes in all of them and just get the super license, which originally was all I was going to do because I didn't think I'd be able to get that many of the golds as I have. But anyway, when I first run through them all, I got silver first try, and upon coming back to this one to try to get gold, I literally haven't finished the lap yet. I've been off the road a few times, and the lap you're seeing now is the first one I actually crossed the line at the end, and as you'll see, it was a gold worthy time. So yeah, this one was very easy. Just keep it on the road and keep up the mid-corner speed, and that's pretty much all you have to do, and it'll be gold. It was ridiculously easy, but I'm certainly not complaining, given how much time I spent on the previous one. This kind of makes up for it. So anyway, just navigating our way through the tight and twisty mid-sector of the circuit before we head on to the long straight, and that is what we are doing now, and just making sure we make full use of the very wide curves on this circuit, and now the long run to the finish line through these last 2 or 3 very inconsequential corners, and this will be a job done. We're going to get the gold, and it's going to be by a chunk as well. We get a 1 minute 32.484, and yeah, that beats the gold time by 4/10 of a second, or just over. On to test number 9 then, and you can hear the silver music from our previous attempt in the background there. We have a Nissan GTR GT500 for this one, and we are at a Deep Forest for the penultimate test in the Super License. We have 8 golds so far. Things are getting very, very exciting indeed. So let's get through this lap, and hope we can bring home another one. As you can see in the bottom left, we haven't driven too far, which tells you this one was more of an easier one, despite it being a deep forest, a circuit that I've never been particularly fantastic at, but nonetheless we managed to do this one with relative ease. It was just a matter of placing the car in all the right parts of the circuit really, and making sure we don't make any silly mistakes. But yeah, in general terms, it wasn't a terribly difficult one, which is not what I expected. I saw this car and track combination, thought this is not going to be easy. But anyway, one of the key points is making sure we get through this hairpin right, and we do manage to do that on this occasion, being a little closer to the demonstration lap. Certainly helps with being able to use them as a reference. And that's really helped me with many of these goal times. Looking at the demonstration lap, I start at a few tenths up the road quite often, and yeah, I can just follow it along throughout the lap, and that usually is good enough for us to get gold. It's 24.392, and we just barely slip under the gold time by 0.08 of a second. So there it is, 9 golds so far for the Super License, just 1 to go. But that one is not an easy one. It is driving a Porsche 917K at Spa in only semi-dry conditions on slick tyres, so the verges of the track are wet, and the car itself is not one that handles particularly well. It is a Porsche after all, so you know, the handling is secondary. But anyway, we'll give it our best shot. This is the one that I am most concerned about. I was fairly confident that I could get gold in most of these other ones. The Super Formula 1 did make me a little nervous, as well as the Toyota Supra at Tokyo Expressway. I was worried about those two as well, but Super License test number 10, the Porsche Spa, that was always going to be the big one. If there was one that would get in the way, it would be that one. So yeah, I will give you an idea of how hard I tried to get this gold. I started attempting on Saturday, and it is now Friday of the next week, and I tried, 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 and I flipping tried. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen, and the best I could manage was silver. So here is the lap then anyway, and the lap itself was actually pretty good. I'm very happy with the first 17 corners of the lap, and I will just leave it at that. So every corner on this track is incredibly difficult. Turn 1, don't brake too late, you'll touch the water on the outside, that'll end your run. Rouge and Radion, I'd literally just shut my eyes through there and press some random buttons and hope I pop out the other side somewhere close to the demonstration lap. That's basically how difficult that section is. I'd say more than 75% of attempts wouldn't even make it to the Kemmel Straight due to how difficult that section of the track is, honestly. It is insane. You can see we actually got a little bit out of control as touching the water there through on the way into Lake Com. But anyway, we got away with it somehow, and we're still keeping up okay with the demonstration ghost. And the demonstration lap is actually a few seconds faster than gold on this one, so if we can keep up with it at this kind of range, we're actually not looking too bad. So this lap is actually going pretty well. We're, well ahead of the gold time at this point of the circuit, so we have to be very careful through there. Don't touch the water on the outside. That will end the run. You'll just get caught up in it and run wide. There's no saving it. Once you touch the water, you're just gone. Anyway, into Fanya now, and we actually gain a little bit back on the demonstration ghost there. Running a little deep though, but nonetheless still close to it. So this is what we want. This is the stuff that builds a gold lap. And there were several times where I got to this part of the circuit this close to the ghost. But unfortunately, as it did on this occasion, a little bit of a bad exit out of Stavilo, and that's cost us a little bit, but we could still probably get gold from here. We're still probably on for a good enough lap. This corner here, this left-hander Blanchimont, is so sketchy. That is probably the hardest corner on the circuit. We get through there okay though, but a tiny little mistake on the way in to the last bus stop chicane, and that cost us all the time we need to lose. And unfortunately, that is ultimately what cost us gold. You saw how many kilometers I drove and how hard I tried, and we missed out by 6/10 in the end to the gold time. I really put in a lot of hours, tried my absolute best to get gold. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So that is it. That is the super license, and that's the best I can do. That is after spending hours a day for a whole week on this one license test. We fall short by 6/10 of a second in the end. It's incredibly frustrating because, that was not the only, gold-worthy lap that I was on, come the last sector, but the matter of fact is that it could take me another, 1,000 kilometers of driving just to get, into that position again. Actually finishing a lap in this license test was the most difficult thing. In my 6 days of trying, I probably finished about 10 to 15 laps, and every other lap I'd go off the road or just restart because it was too slow. So yeah, this was an incredibly frustrating one. Day 4, I believe it was, I didn't finish any laps at all, not one. So yeah, that was the Tuesday, by the way. But yeah, God, this was tough, and yeah, I tried my best, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that I'm actually just not that good at Gran Turismo, at these games, because the way I get these golds isn't by practicing and getting faster to the point where I'm fast enough to get gold. It's basically just random chance. Just because I get gold once on, say the Tokyo Expressway one, that was a relatively difficult one. It might take me another 20 or 30 attempts just to get gold again if I wanted to. So it's yeah, it's quite frustrating in that way that I just didn't quite have it in this last one, but 49 golds out of 50 is certainly not too bad. And the matter of fact is, I've never ever been able to get all the golds in a Gran Turismo game before. It's never happened for me in the past, so the fact I've been able to get 49 golds and 1 silver, I'm actually pretty happy with that. It's just that one tiny mistake running wide, the slightest bit there, and that cost us the 50th gold ultimately. But anyway, that's how the cookie crumbled, I suppose. Oh, and here's a good comparison of how long it took me just to get bronze on this one. 69 kilometers just to get bronze. Some of the golds were faster than that. But anyway, there is the super license itself, finally acquired. So we can finally move on from this part of the game and do some racing once again. I may one day come back and try and get gold in that last license test, but not right now, alright? Not right now. I've had enough. Anyway, there is the prize car Audi R8 LMS Evo 2019. a TT3 car worth a 450 collector score or 450,000 credits. And in addition to that, I decided it was time to buy something cool from the Haggerty collection, the Legends car dealership. So I got the Di Tommaso Mangusta, and yeah, it's a cool car. That's about all I know about it. But anyway, there it is, the end of the Super License. Unfortunately, couldn't get all the golds. It just didn't happen for me. A little frustrating, but like I said, 49 out of 50 isn't too bad, and there is a point where just trying again and again just becomes a little bit silly. Even though we did get close, that didn't quite happen, but that's how it goes sometimes. Like I said, I've never got all the golds before, so coming this close is pretty good, and I'm very happy with the progress I've made in this game. But nonetheless, there is still plenty more to do and more fun things. Let's do some racing, let's do some driving missions in the next one. But for now, that is all we have time for. So I'll say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very much appreciated. Other than that, I will see you next time. Goodbye.